Hello everyone, Gilligan Kruger 0829 here, and welcome to Day 1, Part 2 of my Prometheus movie series marathon review. Today we'll be looking at the second film in the now world popular Alien saga, Aliens, from 1986. That's right, 7 years after Ridley Scott's movie became a science fiction masterpiece, James Cameron took us back into space to see another bout between Sigourney Weaver and H.R. Giger's vicious creations. Does this do any better than the first film nearly perfected? Well, a lot to talk about and a lot to get through. So, let's just get right into it. So this movie starts 57 years, if you can believe it, after the events of the first Alien movie. You see a corporate spaceship picked up Ripley, still played by Sigourney Weaver, in her space pod as it was flying away. They wake her up, but she has a lot of problems to face with. Firstly, the corporation is not very positive about the way she blew up the Nostromo and killed the alien ship in the first movie, but that's only where the problems begin. You see, the planet that the Nostromo explored and that was inhabited by the alien species has since been inhabited by humans since Ripley left, for several decades actually. But, as you can probably guess, the corporation has lost contact with the planet. So, a representative named Carter Burke, played by Paul Weiser, offers Ripley the chance to go down on an inspection mission. Ripley initially refuses, but when Burke assures her they're only going down to exterminate the aliens, she agrees. On the way there, she meets the Space Marines. I love these guys. And some of the members include Corporal Hicks, played by Michael Biehn, Private Vasquez, played by Jeanette Goldstein, and of course, Hudson, played by Bill Paxton. All three of these I'm sure we've never seen or never will see in any future James Cameron movies. But, regardless of this, they suit up and go to the planet, now dubbed LV-426, to see what they can find. And at first, things aren't going too bad. They even find a lone survivor, a little girl named Newt, played by Carrie Henn. But, unfortunately, a surprise attack leaves them trapped on the planet, and the rest of the movie deals with them trying to escape the planet before the indigenous life forms get them. Now, Aliens, as a lot of movie buffs know, is kind of along the ranks of Empire Strikes Back and Terminator 2, in which it's often considered a sequel that is better than its predecessor. And I'm just going to say right here, right now, to keep you from wondering, I could not agree any more with that. This is not only one of my favorite science fiction movies, it's one of my favorite movies, period. Top 10 easily. Why? Because it does everything a sequel should do. It expands on the ideas of the original, but doesn't leave them alone and just throw them out like they never existed. Let's start with the character roster. Ripley is a stronger character this time around because she's actually given a chance to participate with the Marines and shoot and fight off monsters, and she also serves as a mother figure for Newt. That's kind of expanded on as to why she's doing that in the extended edition, but it's good to see that. And while we're talking about the little girl, this you will probably rarely hear me say, but she, I swear, is one of the best child characters from any movie. And to hear that from me, that's saying something, because I find children in movies either incredibly pointless or obnoxiously annoying. And Newt, while she is given chance to be adorable and sweet, she's never really thrown into it to where it's obnoxious. And she's directed by Cameron in the way that I think a young girl would act. Actually, just a young child in particular would act in a situation like this. Yeah, she screams a lot, but I never think it gets obnoxious, and that I really was surprised. I'm surprised I've never heard of her in any other movies. I thought she was really good, but we have other characters to talk about. Next, we have Michael Biehn, and I'll admit, a lot like Chris Evans and Captain America, the distraction does come in this, because I do see a bit of his Kyle Reese role from Terminator in this, also done by James Cameron, ironically. But he's still a strong leader, an individual, and definitely is credible in that sense. And he also provides someone for Ripley to relate to. So that was a good addition. And I also like Private Vasquez. She was a lot of fun and said some of the really good lines in this movie. Like, there's one point right before they land on the planet where one of the other Marines is saying, "Has anyone ever mistaken you for a man before?" And she's just exercising. She looks down on the male Marine and is like, "No, has anyone ever mistaken you for one before?" And that line's hilarious. It gets a chuckle out of me every single time. And I think in a way she's kind of supposed to be a mirror image of Ripley, an echo, if you will. And that works really well, so she was a lot of fun. And also a lot of fun is Hudson, who's kind of the wimp, but still acts like a man. I know that sounds weird, but that's the way I view him, and he's a lot of fun too. Like, he says a lot of the funny lines in this movie, though I don't think he was intended to be a comic relief character. When he does say the humorous lines, it always works. He delivers it well. Bill Paxton definitely nailed it in this role, and this is probably my favorite performance of his. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever. And of course, you've got Paul Weiser as the Dick Wad representative. And yeah, he's scummy, he's just the way you'd imagine him to be, but he's along the levels of Calloway from Transformers 2 or Justin Hammer from Iron Man 2, which I just got finished talking about, in which you're happy to see what happens to him in the end. Won't spoil it, but you'll enjoy it. And that's only the beginning. There are a lot of other characters. You've got Apone, the tough drill sergeant, you've got Bishop, the new android. I don't think I'm spoiling too much by telling you that, and the list goes on. These characters are just so much fun. And another plus for this movie, though you could very well view it as a negative, is that this movie, I think, is more dedicated towards the science fiction aspect as opposed to the horror aspect that the first one was in. Don't get me wrong, there are some horror scenes in this movie that are really tense and dramatic, and they're very well paced. In fact, there's one scene I think is just about as horrific as the alien chestburster scene from the first movie. Okay, well, not as horrific, but it's definitely traumatic. In where, about halfway through the movie, I don't know what I'm saying, Ripley is with Newt in a secure hiding facility, and there's a face hugger in the room, and there's this big battle between them, and that's really jumpy. I have seen this movie dozens of times, but I jump every time in that scene, and frequently when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh goody, this scene. But in that case, I guess it does its job. But honestly, yeah, this is more dedicated towards the science fiction aspect. Like, we have a lot more to see with the Space Marines and the space battles and the extraterrestrial ships. Like, the first Alien movie was more of 2001 meets Jaws. This is more like Star Wars meets Jaws. And, again, whether you consider that a good thing or bad thing, that's up to you. But, hey, you know what? I love Space Marines. I love space battles. I love that kind of stuff. So I was more than welcome to see it, and I thought Cameron handled it great. So another plus to him there. And while we're on the topic, another thing I think this movie did was it went into the biology of the aliens a lot more. Now they're dubbed xenomorphs, which actually sounds pretty damn cool, I think. But we see that the aliens are a lot more insect-like than we saw in the first movie. Like, all of the ones that we see in this movie are essentially drones. And there's a leader of the aliens, the Queen. Again, I don't think that's a huge spoiler that we see in the end, and that also leads to a really badass fight. So I really liked it that they went into the biology of these creatures. Really good. In fact, most everything about this movie is really good. The characters are interesting, the sci-fi stuff is awesome, and the biology is still very believable for these creatures. It's just a fantastic film. So, yes, I'm going to sum it up because most all of my other praises you heard me say in my first Alien review. I do believe this Alien movie is better than the original. As much as I love the first, I just think this one hit a lot more home runs, and it definitely shows. It's not only one of my favorite science fiction films, it's not only my favorite James Cameron movies, it's just one of my favorite movies, period, and I don't think it's really hard to see why. Let me just put it in a metaphor that if the Alien franchise was represented by someone climbing a mountain, Aliens would definitely be the peak of that mountain. 5 stars out of 5 for Aliens, and although the rest of my ratings aren't going to be even close to that, though maybe we'll get a surprise with Prometheus, stick around to see what I have to say for the others. You can find all my movie reviews on my YouTube channel. If you have a movie you'd like me to review, comment on this video or on my channel. Subscribe if you like, and until next time, peace!